Hello and welcome to The Herd Has Spoken, a podcast brought to you by MuskOx Men's Apparel. All right, I'm excited to kick off episode number 13 here in my conversation with Brad Harrell of Texas Beard Adventure. So Brad is a creator who is on the rise. He's had a YouTube channel, which is, of course, Texas Beard Adventure, that he's been working to grow for 2.5 years or so. His channel is not grown yet at the rate that some of our previous guests on The Herd Have Spoken have grown at. And I think you'll really enjoy my conversation with Brad about what it's like to be climbing the mountain as a creator. And I think there's a lot we can learn across really any vocation when it comes to the challenges and the need to continue to work hard, get up at 3:30 in the morning to edit videos every day like Brad is doing, even when you're not seeing the results at quite the rate that you would like to. So a lot we can learn here from this conversation with Brad Harrell. All right, Brad, excited to chat with you here. And I gotta first start by asking you a question. And that's something that may have been tipped off by some friends of yours in the suburban San Antonio town of Boerne that you happen to reside. And that is, what joy do you get from driving down Main Street in Boerne and honking an air horn extremely loud? Just need to know what you get from the air horn.
Well, especially when people don't expect it and they jump 3 feet up in the air, it gets me giddy like a 10-year-old boy getting ready to unwrap Christmas presents. It is one of the most spectacular things to witness, especially if you're in control of the button.
That's key.
And you're in the security of your vehicle, because it's extremely loud. So yeah, I've gotten several people, well, probably at least 100 people with it, and it's a lot of fun.
How did it start? I mean, where did the air horn come from the very first time?
I'd been wanting to get one for a while. Buddy of mine sent me a link to like OfferUp or something, and this guy had one. It was a Horn Blasters, and it was just a good deal. It was like a $300 train horn. It's a quote unquote train horn. It's not really a train horn, but it's an air horn. And I picked it up for like $45. Of course, it didn't have the compressor and everything with it, but I was able to piece everything together for relatively inexpensive. And I drive a lot, and I drive all over Boerne, San Antonio, and to and from. So it was something that I wanted to do. I am kind of a prankster. So yeah, I put it in there, and away we went. And when I pull up to construction sites or even the supply house, I've kind of gotten a name for myself now, which some people expect it, but some people don't even expect it. And that's when it's a lot of fun.
You got to live up to those expectations now, right? You got to have better and better pranks.
Exactly. So I've gotten probably every one of my family members with it. The only person I haven't gotten with it is my wife, because I have to sleep at night, So, and I don't enjoy sleeping with one eye open. So, that's why I don't tread too close to home.
Yeah, that's smart. Plus, you can always leave that dangling out there. Like you've got the imminent threat of being able to do it at any time, and there's power in having that in your back pocket for sure.
100%.
All right, so I see you've got the hat, you've got the guns in the background, you got the antlers. So I want to hear from you though. How country are you?
No. I was voted class redneck, and I don't know whether I took that as a compliment or a negative thing. I guess I took it as a compliment. I don't know. I'm pretty country. I got to feed the cows in the morning. I don't know. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me.
I,
Well, maybe a better question is, how do you know when someone's country?
mm,
Because San Antonio and Boerne, that's an interesting area, right? Because San Antonio has a pretty big downtown. There's a lot happening, but
sure,
then Boerne is a fairly distant suburb of San Antonio. So you've got the Main Street area. So you kind of have this interesting cross section of sort of rural and country. So
for sure. Um, I, I mean, I don't put I don't want to like, toot my own horn or anything like that. I'm not a very
unless it's an air
braggadocious.
horn.
Yeah, right, correct. I, I'm not a real braggadocious kind of guy. But I I do what needs to be done around the house and um, around the property. You and I spoke um, a couple weeks ago, and I was telling you that we just acquired 50 acres, and it's. I grew up actually in San Antonio at my mother's house, but I um, I always enjoyed being outdoors and going to. We had a family ranch when I was growing up that just recently got sold. So I've always tried to um, figure stuff out and be one with quote unquote the land, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I don't. I I had the hat. It was my grandfather's hat. When he passed away, it just sat at our office, and I asked my father because my father's got a rather large head. Me and my grandfather shared the same size head, and so it was just sitting there. And I was like, "Hey, you mind if I take Grandpa's hat?" I mean, I definitely have other hats, but this is probably by far my favorite, and it has a lot of character, you know.
Yeah, it's seen a lot of things, right? If hats could talk, but
If hats could talk, yeah.
and I understand you've got quite a bit in common with your dad and with your grandfather, correct? So you are a third generation master plumber, correct?
Yes, yes. My father actually got his master's first, and then my grandfather got his master's um, because my grandfather worked in the plumbing supply industry his whole career, and extremely smart man. Went to law school, passed the bar exam, wanted to become a politician, but then got my grandmother pregnant with my father and his twin brother. So he did not go into politics. That's why he was going to law school at St. Mary's in San Antonio, and then continued working at the plumbing supply house. Um, my father um, was working as like a stock boy, would do stuff around the plumbing supply house, and ended up starting to do little side jobs, and went and got his journeyman license, then went and got his master license, and then my grandfather retired from the um, plumbing supply house, went and got his master's, and then along the road, I got my journeyman. I've been working for the company for essentially my whole life because every summer and holiday, uh, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff, we would go. Me and my brother would go down to the office and go to job sites as a kid. So I grew up doing it. So yeah, but I am right third generation master plumber.
How do you think
Um,
that's enhanced the relationship that you've had with your father and your grandfather? The fact that you guys have the same profession.
um, it's a double-edged sword because uh, we share the passion of plumbing, but family business is complicated, and um, it can be extremely stressful at times. But uh, we love plumbing, and it is uh, it runs very deep in our blood. So I would say it's I have shared some very fond moments with my brother, my father, and my grandfather accomplishing stuff that um, probably a lot of people don't get to accomplish. Tangible things that you can put your hands on. Driving down the highway and say, pointing out to a building and said, I did the plumbing on that building and that building and that building. So it's 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 yeah, very rewarding in that aspect.
Yeah, it's super satisfying to have something tangible that you can point to. I remember growing up, my parents had a roof redone by a gentleman who was a minister, and
Mm-hmm.
he did roofing sort of on the side, and he did it because he could actually point to something he did that was really satisfying. Because as a minister, I mean, it's never ending, right? You're supporting the congregation, you're doing whatever you need to do, but with a roof, there is a very defined start and end, and that's powerful, right? And it sounds like that's something that you and your family have found satisfying as well. I'm interested to hear a little bit more about some of the challenges that y'all have had in terms of working together as a family. So it sounds like the pros far outweigh the cons, and it sounds like you guys have enjoyed so many good moments together. But I know that's really hard, right? I mean, people say don't shit where you eat. People say don't work with family, right? And so, what are some of the things that you've noticed that are troubled spots? So maybe if someone who's listening that they're thinking about getting into business with their family, what are some of the things that they need to be aware of, or what are some of the experiences that you've had where it can get a little bit tricky?
I would say that when when you work with family, um, there has to be boundaries that have to be established. You have to know what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable to um, to say, because when okay, so let me see, what am I trying to say? um Somebody does isn't pulling their weight, it's really easy when that person isn't a family member to just say, you know what, that's it, you're
Right.
done, adios, have a good life, right? Well, when that's your brother or sister or cousin or uncle or whatever, you still got to see him on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's not like you can just cut ties and never have to worry about that person again.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say from the beginning, you need to be able to set some type of standard or agreement, like, hey, or in that aspect, it's also easier. I say that to pull them aside and be like, what's going on, because you're not present.
Right.
Why? And so that that's what I would say to anybody that's thinking about going into business with a relative, that they need to make sure that there's some boundary lines set in the beginning.
Yeah, boundaries and guidelines. Those are two things that you mentioned that I think are super important. And in all honesty, that probably applies to relationships outside of family and work as well. Because it feels like if you can agree to those boundaries, if you can agree to how you're going to make a decision, if you can agree to what good looks like and how you're going to address it if good doesn't happen, if you can do that up front, man, that makes things a lot easier down the tracks.
For sure.
And so
Yep.
I think that's a really important thing when you're starting to sort of mix swim lanes a little bit, right? Whether it's, we're working together, or going into business with family, or you know going on vacation with another couple or something like that. I mean, it's even small things, right? It's really helpful to try to align on those things up front.
Yes, absolutely.
I got to ask though, you did mention that you've gotten everyone except your wife with some good pranks. Did working with family also set yourself up to really, really get something good on against your pops?
Oh yeah, yeah. I tend to put those on my Instagram, and I did a little collage of me getting my sister, and it wasn't even all of them because I've got several more videos on there on my Instagram that date back years. But I've gotten I don't even get my brother anymore because he has gotten to the point to where he's so annoyed by it that I don't even get it. Because when I first got the train horn, um, I would set it up, and they've tried to get me back with like they sell the little cans of like a
The air horn.
boat air horn,
Yep.
like you would put in a skiff or something to warn off, or maybe try to call for some help or whatever. They tried to rig it up to where they got me, and they didn't even get me. They didn't even get me. But it's yeah, that is probably the problem with being such a prankster, is that paybacks paybacks are paybacks, and you can't be upset when somebody gets you. And I wasn't upset when they did try to get me, but it didn't work, unfortunately, for them.
Something for
So
them to aspire to, for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you mentioned your Instagram account, right? So you've posted some good stuff there of you getting your sister. So this is good transition into talking a little bit about some of your work in terms of social media. But before we do, important question: how can people track you down on social media?
So YouTube is Texas Beard Adventures. Instagram is Texas Beard Adventures. Everything is Texas Beard Adventures. Facebook is the same. Um, and yeah, I would say I really enjoy both avenues. I enjoy the simplicity of Instagram because um, you could pop a video up and it takes very little effort to do so. Um, but I have enjoyed more of the YouTube. Well, both really, looking back, but YouTube, being able to see my kids grow up over since I've started that has been very. I've been able to appreciate that, um, looking back on it now. Whereas I don't think I would have had as much video and or photos of them otherwise if I wouldn't have started it. Because before I started my YouTube channel, I started YouTube. I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have, I don't do much on Twitter, but um, I have a LinkedIn account. But I didn't have any of that because I didn't put much stock in it. And um, I didn't have a lot of time. I still don't have a lot of time, but uh, I didn't want to go down that avenue. But now I'm all in.
Which I
So
love, because I don't think the average person would think third generation master plumber in suburban or rural Texas be someone that would aspire to be on YouTube and on Instagram, on Twitter and Facebook. So
yeah.
what was it that got you interested to begin with? And what is it about your channel that that you want people to get excited about, or why you want people to tune in?
So it it stems back to um, a trip that I took with several of my buddies out to West Texas. We went to like 75,000 acre ranch in West Texas, right on the Mexican Texas border. Um, Buddy of mine, Dustin Scott, he is extremely talented in videography. He's a graphic arts designer, and he took all of his camera gear. Like, this is probably, I don't know, about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Went out there. He took drone, GoPros, nice cameras, all that, and we just did what we do, right?
Right. Right. Boys in
And
West
he,
Texas having a good time outside.
yeah, we were driving around on this huge ranch, uh, carrying on, drinking some adult beverages, doing some hunting, um, and just hanging out, having a good time. It took him a while to be able to put that footage together. Um, Probably, I would say, 3 to 4 months. He finally got it put in a video format, like about a 10-minute video, and it was just, there wasn't really like, it wasn't a YouTube video. It was just clips of all of probably about 10 of my buddies,
Mm-hmm.
throughout the trip over like 3 days. And that was the video that got me to thinking, like, what we do is special and unique and fun, and people should be able to see it. So that was the kind of thing that had the light bulb over my head. And then, of course, Matt Carricker lives not far from me, and I saw his success with it. And I was training for a half marathon that I did a couple of years ago, and I just it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I should start a YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
because this is
I love it.
this is this is what people should see, because we do, me and my friends, we do some stuff that probably your normal guy doesn't get to do or experience. So that's what kind of started it, and that's what I've been trying to. I've been all over the map. I'm left-handed, and I've heard that left-handers kind of are, I don't know, ADD, so to speak. But so I do a mixed bag of a bunch of stuff on my YouTube channel and Instagram. I'm into guns. I'm into cars. I'm into family, outdoors. I'm all, and I'm also a plumber, so I throw construction projects in there too. So I think that's why I haven't grown maybe as quickly as I could on YouTube, is because I am just one week I'll be putting out a video about hunting. The next week it'll be about plumbing. The next week it'll be about fishing. So I don't do it on purpose. I do it on purpose, but
Right. But it's your life. You're not conscious about.
yeah, exactly. And I make videos about what I care about, and I care about a lot of stuff. So that's the problem, is that it's hard for me to make a video down one lane, is the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. And so you mentioned Matt Carricker, who lives down the street from you, more or less. Andy Rawls is the same thing. Great guy. For those, you guys can go back and check out the episodes with actually both of those gentlemen. So, those guys are bigger. I mean, Matt's one of the biggest stars on YouTube, full stop, across every genre. So he's a bit of an outlier, and Andy's doing well. Continue to grow his channel, steady Eddie, like a lot of people, ups and downs. But I think those guys are pretty established, and they've climbed mountains. And from talking with those guys, very regular basis, I know that there's there's mountains that they're still trying to climb, right? What happens when you climb a mountain? You see there's other peaks to climb, and for you, you're kind of climbing that first mountain, right? When it comes to YouTube. So,
Sure.
you know, talk to me a little bit about like what is that like for you? Because obviously you aspire to have a greater following, but yet your following is increasing, not where you'd like it to be yet. So
Yeah.
what is that like for you?
It's a love-hate relationship. Um, I, I, sometimes I tell myself, just forget about it. Just don't mess with it anymore. It's not worth it. But it is worth it because I'm not looking at the short term. I'm looking at the long term and the relationships that I build over time. And it's a struggle because everybody wants viral videos when it comes to YouTube or social media in general. Um, and I in my opinion, I have yet to have a quote unquote viral video. Um, it it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but anything that is worth it is a lot of work. I mean, if it was easy, if I didn't have to wake up at 3 or 3:30 in the morning to edit video while the rest of my family is sleeping, then I don't think that I would be doing my my time, putting in the long hours that's required to be at the level of success that Matt and Andy and Cletus McFarland or Lunkers and all those guys that did their time in the trenches is the way that I look at it. Um, because I mean, I've got like 4,700 subscribers right now on YouTube. Every day it goes up, some days it goes up more, some days it doesn't go up at all. It's it's that mountain that we're trying to get to the top of. And um yeah, so I look at it as um putting in my time, and that I want it. I want it bad enough to where I'm willing to sacrifice the hours of sleep to get it done.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you talk because I can relate to a lot of that right now with MuskOx. It's funny because, I work a lot, and for the last probably month and a half, I feel like I've been working every waking hour, and as we record this, we're about a week away from the biggest shopping weekend of the year between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and I spent a great deal of time today at the store lugging boxes around. Long story short, we decided to open a retail location here in Detroit area that we weren't planning on, but we could negotiate a good deal. But we've got a main warehouse down in Boerne, Texas, where most of the MuskOx clothes are stored, and so we're still small enough where it's not easy to move inventory. We couldn't ship things from the factory to both our retail store and our warehouse. So, anyways, long story short, I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting here, quite literally and figuratively. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And what I'm trying to decide is if I actually enjoy the grind for the sake of the grind, or if I enjoy it for the potential of a return in the future. And honestly, I don't know where I stand on that. It's just
Right.
something I've been processing, and I'm curious if if you enjoy getting up at 3:30, or you enjoy thinking about what could happen as a result of your efforts and continuing to grind. I'd be curious if you've thought about that question at all.
I have um I don't I don't necessarily enjoy waking up in the wee hours of the morning, but I do enjoy the pursuit of it, and the at the end of a video that I've edited myself, um, and then I realized that don't get upset with yourself at um, not um, what is it? It's a the instant reward from a video that you put up. So because you see
Right.
guys like Andy or Matt or Lunkers, and they're well established, so they have a huge following, and so they put a video up, and it goes, a couple hours or a couple days, it's 100,000 or a million or whatever views, right? And so a small guy like me puts a video up, and a day it's got 100 views, 2 days it's got 150 or something like that, and you're like, well, I'm a failure because my videos aren't doing what their videos are doing. But what I've been able to realize doing this long enough now, for probably 2.5, 3 years, is that uh, you don't need to be so concerned about right now, like the video performance or just in general the performance of your channel and videos on it. Is that as people uh, discover the videos, they're going to do better. The longer they're on YouTube, or they're going to get more views. So you kind of have to just step back and realize that just give it time. It's it everybody everybody well, not everybody. A lot of people want to be YouTubers, but it's not easy. And it takes a lot of time and energy and I mean, it's a lot of planning and logistics and all that. And I mean, that's why there's very few that succeed at it. I mean, I've seen people that channels that I started out with at the same time, and they gave it up. And
Absolutely.
I don't plan on doing that. I plan on I'm in it for the long haul.
When all else fails, persistence prevails. That's one of my favorite sayings, right? So,
Absolutely.
and I gotta I gave you a ton of credit because from my perspective, one of the most important things in life is to try to make yourself better, and that's not a destination, that's a journey. And Lord knows I got a lot of ways I can get better, and I don't think I'm probably talking out of turn here saying I'm sure you feel the same way. That's just kind of the nature of things. But what I think is the most noble is being willing to put yourself out there to try to find ways to make your life and to make yourself better. And so, like, sort of just by definition, you continue to put out these videos every for 2.5 years, 3 years, whatever it is. I mean, I think that's great because I think that it just shows that you respect yourself and you have that want to, which is going to in turn make you a better person, whether or not your videos ultimately take off on YouTube or not. I think there's just like
Yeah.
so much inherent value in just figuring something that you want and going after it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I had a really good conversation with Eric at Texas Barn Dominiums. I don't know if you've ever spoken to him. Um, and he's done some really cool stuff with Matt, and he builds. He's a builder, right? And um, he was telling me you need to make more videos about plumbing. I'm like, man, nobody wants to see videos about plumbing. And he goes, it's I wish I knew that it's a phrase, or it's a like a syndrome almost, that people.
Imposter syndrome, is that by chance
No,
it?
no,
Okay, all right.
no, it's God dang it, Dunning. I wish I knew it. I was thinking about it earlier, and I should have wrote some notes down. um but it is essentially, smart people think that everybody knows what they know, and dumb people think that nobody. Well, dumb people think that nobody knows anything. I
Right.
guess essentially. So, like I'm a plumber. I'm a master plumber. So I think that everybody knows how to put a toilet in. Everybody knows how to change out a garbage disposal, uh, but no, not everybody does. And so I I have always shied away from in my earlier YouTube career putting out plumbing and construction related videos. Going back to my being left-handed, that I have more embraced that as of lately. So I'm starting to do a little bit more of that because I
I love it.
realize that not everybody knows what I know. A lot of people don't know what I know. Well, nobody knows what I know, really, but because I know what I know.
Yeah, right. Which might be a good thing.
Yeah, oh, for sure. If you were up in this head of mine, boy, we'd go for a roller coaster ride.
Well, okay, let's go there then. I want to know. So, people talk about the year 2020 being crazy, but I want to talk about the year 2000, because it was the year 2000 where
Yeah,
you decided to chase a woman across
yeah,
Texas out to College Station, and
yeah,
so I want to hear about what was going through that brain of yours in the year 2000 when you chased a woman across Texas.
yeah. So, go back to my freshman year, right after graduating high school, freshman year of college. My brother and sister lived in College Station, where A&M is at. They were going to school up there. Um, my girlfriend, her best friend, and her boyfriend, were going to move to College Station. I convinced my parents to allow me to go up there in pursuit of my then girlfriend. And then, so I did. And the stipulation was that I had to live with my brother and sister, which was fine. Um, uh, so fast forward a year, so go to 2001, she breaks up with me, uh, put crushes my heart into a million pieces, and I pleaded with her numerous times, please, just why are you doing this to me? Don't, come on, we're meant to be together. And uh it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I moved back to San Antonio, um started going to school here, and well, I say here in San Antonio, living with my mother, started working for the company full time, and then I met my wife now, Robin, and she was in nursing school with some friends of mine, and yeah, then we ended up starting dating and got married and had kids, and the rest is history, as they say.
Everything except the the prank with the air horn, which is still coming. You just don't know.
Well,
Robin just doesn't
yeah,
know when.
no, I don't know if I'll ever go there with her, because
Don't tell her that. Don't tell her that.
no, I
Just say
won't.
it's not coming. She hasn't
Yeah,
had it yet.
right.
But I mean, look, that story is so common for so many guys, and I don't know who needs to hear it, but when you get your heart broken like that, you said smashed into 1,000 pieces, but it is crazy how many times that's the best thing that wound up happening
Oh,
to
for sure.
someone, and it sounds like that's indeed the case with you as well, where
Yeah,
you're in a much better position now, and got a great family and great life and making things happen down in Texas.
yeah, yeah. It's she's a amazing woman, um, great mother, great wife. If it wasn't for her, things would not be the way they are for me. She allows me to do the things that I love and go on the crazy adventures down at the coast or going hunting with my buddies and stuff like that. Uh, that I enjoy doing, and with my boys too. That's since we've had kids, I try to incorporate them into into as much of the videos as I can, and I also try to teach them as much as possible the stuff that I know, um, because it's important to pass that on to the generations. You know, especially the hunting and the fishing aspect of it, and the plumbing too. I want them to grow up to be great contributors of society and great men.
Yeah, for sure. Well, speaking of passing things on from generation to generation, what is the greatest piece of advice that you've ever received from someone?
Oh, geez, that's deep, Brad. Oh man, greatest piece of advice.
In your business, a royal flush beats a full house. I mean, that's an important piece of advice.
I would say, um, just well, this is going back to my Boy Scout days. Um, just be honest, even when it hurts, even when it's not popular to do. I think my wife just got home. Um, yeah, just be be honest and be truthful, because lies lying is never going to get you ahead.
Yeah, and most of us aren't smart enough to be able to remember when you said something other than the truth. So even
No.
if you try to do that, it's a bad strategy. One final question, just a fun question here for you, Brad, before we let you go, and that's, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Uh, I would probably say liars. Lying is yeah, I don't do not tolerate liars in any aspect of my life. So I would have to say probably that
Very
liars.
cool. Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to have no patience for.
Mhm.
Um, Well, listen, we appreciate you carving out time today. We appreciate getting to have a little bit of your grandfather together with us here on the podcast with your hat and with really your whole family, because I know everything you do is something you put your heart into, and it's something that plumbing, something that you connect with your family. And we wish you all the success with your YouTube and social media adventures. Go ahead and give Brad a follow at Texas Beard Adventures and follow all the crazy shenanigans he's got going on. But
Yeah.
thanks again, Brad. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in today, guys. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Brad. I know I really appreciate his perspective on the importance of getting up at 3:30 in the morning to edit videos, and the grind that he's going through as part of his aspiration to do something great. In his case, to get his YouTube channel up to where he wants it to be. So thank you to Brad for joining the podcast today, and thanks for you guys for listening. If you haven't yet had a chance to check out MuskOx, do yourself a favor and go to GoMuskOx.com and find yourself some fantastic outdoor men's apparel. There's a whole lot that's going to make your life more simple and allow you to get out there and pursue some of the many adventures that await for you. So that's it from today. Again, I'm Brad Hoos with The Herd Has Spoken.